Hello, you over 3,000 amazing legends and the 82% who have yet to subscribe. Today we're going to be looking at the first dev Q&A for Space Marine 2 and seeing what we possibly could be having coming to the future of the game. So let's grab a brew, get comfortable, and let's jump in. So yes, we have the first of the Q&A with the devs, which is pretty cool, and we kind of get a lot of information in it. So just a quick one on the channel. Obviously, the videos have been a bit lax over this last week. I've just been promoting work, so my schedule and everything kind of changed. So yeah, hopefully that won't change too much, but I'm going to hopefully have now a regular night when I'm going to be able to stream, which is going to be awesome. So lots of Space Marine 2 content coming. So yeah, the Q&A, so we've got quite a bit, so there's some hot topics and stuff like that, and obviously the most importantly is we get a really pretty updated roadmap for the next year at least. Now I had this in one of my last things where I talked about this and people arguing about season 3 and season 4 being labeled winter, and like, seriously. So basically we've got September is obviously season 1, which is what we're in now, and then at some point this year we're going to get season 2, which is going to include a new PvE missions, which is cool, the eternal the lethal difficulty, a new enemy. I'm going to do a video on that, go some ideas of what that's going to be, and the Neuro Volkite pistols, which I think is probably going to be for the Bulwark, because traditionally the Volkite pistol is normally used by the Relic, the Lieutenant, a Captain, and the Blade Guard also have access to that. And obviously we're also going to get the Dark Angels cosmetics, which is super cool. Now, I do think that this is probably going to drop around about, I think this is probably going to drop around about November time. The reason why it rolls in, because the season 3 is, I think, is going to drop around about March, and then season 4 it'll drop at the end of the year in around about November, December time again, kind of giving us a good 6 months grace between each of the seasons, which is, I think, is quite good. And obviously with all of this we already know all the cosmetics and everything else that we're going to be getting with the season pass, but obviously they've kind of gone into a little bit more detail here with new PvE missions, new PvP game mode, new PvP arenas, new enemies, new PvE prestigious ranks, and a battle barge expansion, which sounds amazing. And then in season 4, horde mode, more new enemies and new weapons. So I'm going to do a whole video on the new enemies and what that could possibly mean for us. So obviously they also talk about the connection issues, which obviously, if you've had the last patch, you will realize that not all of them were fixed and there are still some issues there. We also have the AI bots, and they talk about the AI bots. So the question was, bots are regularly mentioned as ineffective, making solo games significantly harder, and you suggested we work on them. According to you, they haven't been particularly enforcing an objective and don't do enough intense situations. Yeah, from what I found in missions with the bots, they generally cause more problems than enough. They kind of like don't really do much, which is a little bit annoying. So the answer, bots seem a bit passive because we didn't want them to take the spotlight from the player. That's pretty cool. However, they can sometimes be a bit too passive. I would say that they are on the borderline of being too passive. In the next patch, we have some implements on their behavior against boss fights in the campaign. We also consider improving their involvement during specific objectives in the campaign for a later patch. That would be kind of cool as well. So, campaign questions. So, a veteran difficulty is said to be hard in solo as the bots don't help with the objectives. We will adjust veteran difficulty in future patches. Will remain in challenging, but it'll be slightly more fair because we will tweak AI aggressiveness on this difficulty. Other difficulties will remain untouched. Cool. And then we got some stuff on PvE. So balancing, assault is often listed as less powerful as other classes. The jump pack in PvE loses its versatility compared to the one in the campaign. We're still collecting data on this issue. So there is a big difference between the assault in PvE operations and the campaign. As I've said this before when I've talked about the assault class, the campaign doesn't really, you aren't really playing the assault class in the campaign when you're Titus and his companions, because you're essentially playing a tactical marine with a jump pack. Whereas when you go into PvE and you do operations, you are playing the assault class, and you don't jump as high and you don't jump as far. So yeah, there is a bit of that. I think one of the really cool things that it could do with that is having a couple of talents in the talent build, where you can actually improve the power of your jump pack as you progress in power. So you kind of feel as you go up in levels, you feel that in going in power, you're jumping higher, you're jumping further. That would be kind of cool. So the blocking a weapon trait is often seen by the community as a bad thing. It is a terrible thing. Don't do it, as it removes the potential for mastery because there is no perfect parry window. We fully agree that this is a bummer, and we'll be definitely making changes in the future. That's kind of cool. That's a bit of a, you know, it's kind of cool, and I would like to see that fixed, because, you know, I'm starting to get my blocks down, and my blocks leading into a shot to the head. Your pistol, pew pew. So it would be kind of nice to see that those working. I tend to use mostly fencing weapons. So bolt action family is underperforming with melter gun. Melter gun is just so powerful because it's a melter gun and it's a melter weapon. Melter weapons have always been pretty strong, even in the first game. Melter weapons ruled the roost. You'd often see them all the time in PvP. Tactical Marines getting the dual weapon trait, so they could carry a bolt gun and a melter weapon, and then they would like fire with a bolter gun, and then they would get into the ruins and into the buildings, pull out of their melter gun, and then start rolling around and zapping you and pretty much one-shotting you. So yeah, melter weapons are pretty strong, and that's kind of to be expected, to be fair. We have noticed that a bug where the melter allows the user to heal above the consistent health. We aim to fix this in the next patch. As the rest of the weapon balancing, we hear you, and some weapons can be under-deliver on the power fantasy of higher difficulty levels. We also recognise that enemies can be too much bullet spongy. Oh, Tyranid Warriors and Chaos Space Marines are definitely bullet sponges, which is not so much fun, and that's the core issue, rather than the bolters themselves. For now, we are testing some of these tweaks. That's cool. One of the things I would love them to do, and I know this is not necessarily part of the bolter weaponry, but I would love to see them actually address the mobs that block, especially the Tyranid Warriors, the close combat variant, where they basically just cross their swords and you can't do nothing to them. I'd like to see basically a heavy hit, like sort of stagger them at least, to sort of try to knock them out of that, and that would kind of help a little bit. So, quality of life, which is kind of good. We always like quality of life. You ask to be able to have several of the same class in operations mode. There is also frustration in matchmaking where two players want to be in the same class. I found this one while trying to film certain footage and stuff for the Vanguard. I was kicked a number of times from a couple of groups because I wanted to play my Vanguard so I could do my filming. And I was just removed from the group because one of the people in the group wanted to be either with their friend, wanted to play Vanguard, and there's nothing much you can do about it. For now, we are focused on improving matchmaking so that you are not matched with players of the same class. This is not an easy fix, so it will be some time to roll out. And as for using the same class, we don't want to change that rule for regular matchmaking, but we are considering as expansion for private lobbies in the future. I hope they really do bring it into private lobbies, because I would love to roll out with the boys in a 3-man team all using heavies. I think it would be absolutely mental. 3 heavies, a group of aggressors just coming in, just absolutely laying waste to everything with the heavy bolters and melter rifles. It'd be just so cool. It was observed that players tend to be toxic behavior and that they're kicking late during the game made by a group of friends to let their friends get the XP. This is really good, and it's kind of hopefully that you're going to start getting XP for what you do, and obviously get XP while you're actually fighting and giving XP for kills, which is really good. We understand this is unfair, and each player will receive XP based on their involvement in the mission, which is good. Save loadouts don't include skill customization, making them less relevant. This is not a priority for us at the moment, which is kind of cool. That's fine. You know, I don't really mess around with multiple trees that much. PvP matchmaking. You have suggested making it possible to tag as a team of 6. We understand this need. We want to add custom PvP lobbies and give players more control over the match. For example, frag limit, classic restrictions, etc. It's not that easy to make and it takes time, so please bear with us while we work on it, and we will let you know when we are clear visibility on when it's released. That'd be cool. Balancing for PvP. It was thought to our attention that shot grenades are OP. Yes, they are. Many of you consider melee to be underpowered. I wouldn't say melee is underpowered. Like, I've been one-shotted by a Thunderhammer before and a Power Fist. I wouldn't say it's underpowered. I would just say that if certain classes really sort of negate melee, Bulwark, so you kind of, yeah, I think, but then the next question is kind of sort of leads into that. Assault is considered weak in PvE, Bulwark is considered is overpowered, in capture zones, and heavy is overpowered, too much damage for its durability. So regarding PvP balances, we are currently reading and crunching the data. We don't want to make rash decisions before seeing the global picture. At the moment, we are checking the most common topics, such as melee balancing, shot grenades, Bulwark and heavy being too present in capture games, except some tweaks for the first big patch content, but not before. Right, okay, so let's talk Bulwark first. Now, as someone who's played a lot of Bulwark in PvE and PvP, I will say this, that Bulwark, once you get your head around how that shield works, is incredibly overpowered. You can tank absolutely everything. Grenades being thrown at you, if you get your shield facing the direction where the blast's coming from, you can just absorb it. It normally takes 2 players minimum to deal with one Bulwark, right? Because you have to get round behind them and kill them. Now, the easiest fix for this is when they put up their shield, right, the Bulwark gets an additional set of armor value, and that armor bar goes down. The more damage that shield takes, it goes down and down and down, and then eventually, once it reaches the bottom, it becomes unusable until it gets recharged. And it takes maybe, say, 5 to 10 seconds to recharge it, and then they're able to use it again. I think that would be a good balance for Bulwark. I think it would be definitely a skill thing where you're going to have to come out of it, weave it in, reset it, weave it in, and reset it. I think that would be kind of a skill thing for Bulwarks as well, and would definitely sort of stop them from being such an obnoxious, horrible class to fight against. And I at the first, I didn't think this was that much of an issue until I started playing Vanguard more, and then I realised that, oh yeah, Bulwark is a pain in the arse and busted. As for heavy, they do far too much damage far too quickly. Like, I can target a I can be on my Vanguard, target a heavy with my harpoon, and be dead before I've even reached them. Like, in less than a second, they could just pump out that much damage on me, strip my armor, and completely kill me. Now, is that a heavy being too overpowered, or is that the heavy bolter? Because you mostly see heavies using the heavy bolter. So yeah, I think that there's definitely needed tweaking and needs to be done. No team balancing after matches creates unbalanced matches for several matches in a row. We have heard this many times. We want to improve this in the future patches. We're looking into it. Yeah, I've seen that a few times where I've had like a number of games where I've won, and I've basically been stuck with the same guys throughout that run of games, and the only people that are leaving are the ones on the other team that are constantly on the receiving end of us 4 or 5 or sometimes 6, and then that starts rolling out. But eventually you start getting good players getting brought into that team, and then it starts, yeah, it kind of balances out eventually, but it's not fun to be on if you're on the receiving end of that. Spawning locations can create spawn kill situations. Yes, it can. And it's a viable tactic in PvP to do this. So we'll see what their answer is to this. This will be tweaked in some parameters in a future patch. We'll implement spawn protection. That's good, because right now what you can do is, if you know that you've pushed them back, or they're pushing out against you, you can get one person to run round and run into their spawn point, which automatically triggers the spawn relocation, which basically switches the spawns. What happens then is they start spawning into, if they're already dead, right, and you're dying as well, you kind of both end up in the same spawn point, and you can literally just wreck them. And if you do it quickly, especially if you're pushing them back, you can literally have everybody hanging around outside your spawn point, switch it, and then when they're all dead and they're respawning in, they spawn back into your spawn point where you're all waiting, and you can just eradicate them. This is a really nasty way of doing it in Annihilations, because you can get a lot of easily kills really, really quickly, and it's basically just abusing the spawn mechanics. So yeah, making changes to that would be a good thing, because I've done it in games and deliberately to switch the spawn points, so we can actually get the upper hand. And I've had it done to me as well, and it's not nice either way. Most voted topics on future on focuses together. So there's some pretty big ones here. So let's start from the top. So let's have a little look-see. Are we getting new colours for the lenses? New lens colours are planned and coming up in the next patch. That's cool. I would like my Howling Griffin and stuff to have green eyes. So that would be pretty cool. You asked to pick the Chaos Space Marine Legions you want for every class. There are many restrictions preventing us from doing this. For instance, we cannot make a sniper with a World Eater's armor. Bullshit. It's very tricky to match armor pieces of Chaos. Armor pieces of different sizes and styles, and will clip through each other, etc. Also in PvP, it is important to be able to recognize the enemy class, we want to keep this visual identity for each. Now we will not keep it as it is, and would like to expand Chaos customization, but the reality is it won't be as modular as the Loyalist. I think this is a cop-out, personally. There are low restrictions for doing this. For instance, we cannot make a World Eater sniper. Bullshit. There is World Eater heavy support squads. There is a known World Eater character in the Black Talon series who is a World Eater warlord who is in charge of a heavy company for the World Eaters Legion, and they all run around with heavy bolters and heavy weapons, and they're called berserkers. So bullshit. Okay, the whole thing, it would be tricky to make armor pieces for Chaos. Now, not necessarily. If they actually put the time and effort into actually putting the Chaos as a customization option into it, so kind of like the first one did, where you had your Chaos Space Marine and your Loyalist Marine, and you could customize both. They could easily do that. And okay, this isn't going to be a short-term thing. That would be a long-term thing in the future. But they could quite easily give Chaos customization on par with the Loyalist ones. It's just a matter for them to invest in that. The system is there, so they just need to have the shoulder pads. They just need to design the parts for each of the classes, for the Chaos parts, for each of the Chaos classes. They can do it. That is the limitations. Is basically them saying we don't really have the time or the inclination of doing it, but they can do it. That's just a cop out. This whole, in PvP, it is important to be able to recognize an enemy class, and we want to keep the visual identity for each. Again, so a Chaos Space Marine Bulwark has a shield. That's pretty easy to see. A Chaos Space Marine Sniper has a sniper rifle. That's pretty easy to see. A Chaos Space Marine Vanguard doesn't necessarily need to be a World Eater. It could be any other Legion, but, you know, they're pretty simple. You just put them in slightly lighter armor. You have the scope here for basically having this in a really good way. You could build the Chaos Space Marine Legions around the Mark IV armor. You could put the Heavy, which they kind of already have done, the Heavy and the Bulwark in Mark III. And they could maybe put the Sniper and the Vanguard in the Mark VI. So they could easily do it. It's not like they don't have huge amounts of armor variations from the Horus Heresy for the Chaos Traders to do it. You can easily do it. It's just that they're choosing not to do it in many cases. This entire answer is just a pure cop-out. How many of you have asked? Many of you asked for new classes. That is definitely something that we have already discussed. Adding a new class is heavy on the production, and we also want to create all the customizations, PvP, Chaos model variant, and animation set depending on what we go for. We'll keep you updated on this. I think we're going to get new classes. I think we're definitely going to get an apothecary. We're definitely going to get a chaplain at some stage. Be pretty cool to see a librarian. I would love to see an aggressor, but I think you could make the aggressor just by giving new weapons to the heavy, which would be kind of cool. I would like to see these. Terminators is something I would like to see added to the class, to the game, and just call it a super heavy, and have Terminator armor. You can have Chaos and you can have Loyalist. Close combat variants and shooty variants. You've got a lot of options there, and the Chaos and the Terminator models are already in the game because we've already seen the Scarab Occult Terminators. About the missing armor colors, we aim to expand specific color masks such as hands, decals, and face mask in up-and-coming patches. We'll be adding successor chapters eventually. I'm not. This is not a priority for me yet. I would love my Crimson Fist to have a Crimson Fist hand. But I do believe that this will just get added generically over the course of the game's life, which is kind of cool. Adding new melee weapons. New melee weapons would definitely be an extremely cool addition. Making a weapon and designing it is fine, but we need to make all the finer animations for it, and it will take time. Cool. I long for the day of seeing something like power axes, lightning claws, etc., getting added into the game. Customizing your Marine's face. Not a quick fix, but we would like to add the option of changing Marine's face. There's a lot of bare face Marines in the game already. Just give us the option of just changing them. They don't need to sort of have different. They can just different presets. Cool. No one really sees your face anyway, so it's not a massive biggie. Let's be fair on that one. Optimizing PvP crossplay. We needed more time to discuss that. Custom PvP lobbies will solve part of that issue. Yes, it will. Thunderhawk customization, really? Does it really need to happen? Doing a full battle badge and Thunderhawk customization is very cool and not up on the priority list. We prefer to focus on our arts teams on creating new maps. I don't think that's really needed, to be completely honest. Yeah. Pyroblaster in PvE and PvP. We will add it, but it will take some time with visual and gameplay progression. We'll keep you updated. That'd be cool. Flamer Boys. Flamer Boys in PvP would be kind of cool. To be able to customize the AI squad, still in discussions. Nice. Delete custom armor profiles. Yes. Make this happen. Like, a lot of us probably cocked that up on the first day when trying to make it. We pressed the wrong button. We've probably got like 4 or 5 Ultramarines now. The ability to delete these would be amazing. We're working on this. In the next patch, we'll be able to overwrite a custom preset with the default one. Nice. FOO slider and left-right shoulder swap is not something that we are comfortable with, as it could degrade the visual aspect of the game. On top of that, it's very complex. Our game is not a first-person shooter. The camera that will have a very cinematic and... All right, okay. So this is on about changing it from left... Yeah. I can see the tactical flexibility for that in PvP, but quite honestly, you know, just learn to play around it. Get rid of the class restriction on cloaks and tabards. No. These are part of the class identity. You get to recognize snipers because of these elements. Yep, completely agree. I don't want to see robes on stuff unless it's a DLC. So I can imagine later on down the line The Dark Angels coming with quite a lot of robes because they're Dark Angels, and it's a set. It's an armor skin. The Black Templars getting robes, tabards, because it's the Black Templars armor skin. And also the Space Wolves having lots of pelts and stuff because it's their DLC, their armor skins. I can see that being a thing at a later date. Iframes and gun strikes. Gun strikes are a risk-reward action, and it is very easy to spam. Very specifically, do not put an iframe on it for balancing reasons, and we are not looking to change this intention. Okay, and that's it. That's the QA. That's the lowdown. So there's a lot of information there, and there's a lot of cool stuff. Really interesting to see what they actually do with the balancing in regards to the heavy and the bulwark in PvP, and how they can kind of buff assault in operations, which would be kind of nice. And yeah, all in all, it's all good stuff. It's all good information, and it's good that they're talking to the community, taking that feedback on board. I need to get over there onto the little thread to put in your information regarding ideas, because of my ideas about the boarding actions and the new PvP mode. It would be kind of cool to do that. But all in all, I think it's pretty good. I think the game is moving forward in the right direction. I think people need to realize that the game is only a couple of weeks old. We need to allow that to allow the devs just to do what they need to do, and we can just continue playing it. And I think over the course of the next year, we're going to get new maps, we're going to get new missions, we're going to get new customization options, we're going to get new cool stuff. The game is amazing, and it's going to be around for a long time. Yeah, this is probably the best Warhammer game that we could ever hope for, and I'm just really hoping. The biggest thing is new story content. That's, for me, is what I really want to see. I want to see more story content. I want to see where Titus is getting sent. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see what this new mission is. That would be awesome as well. So yeah, I think the scope of what they could do with this is amazing. And it would be really cool to see. And I'm interested to see what other cool big name characters they can also bring into the game. So that's the video, everybody. If you like what I do, please smash that subscribe button. Help me get to my target goal of 3,500 subscribers. I'm almost there. And also like, comment, share, tell all your friends, and obviously check out my members and Patreon areas. And I will catch you in the next video, everybody. Goodbye for now.